Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Wife Like Me podcast. I'm so excited to be with you. Per usual, I always am excited. But my name is Amanda Davis, and if we have not yet met, I'm your friend and host here at A Wife Like Me. And we are so pumped. We have a new friend, my new friend, your new friend, Meredyth Fletcher. Well, maybe you already know her. I don't know. But she has a new book out today, The Good Food Solution. Actually, it matches me. The Good Food Solution. I just realized that I'm matching with your book cover. A shame-free nutritional journey to food freedom, spiritual nourishment, and whole body health. Come on. I'm excited. I cannot wait to chat with you, Meredyth Fletcher. Welcome to A Wife Like Me.
Hi, it's so good to be new friends and to meet you and everyone. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for spending time with us and being with us. You are in Houston, and you're, for everyone who's listening and you're so used to my Minnesotan accent, maybe Meredith sounds like home to you. And maybe that would probably be because you are in the South. And so, yay for Texans, and just
Yay.
thanks. Yay. And thanks for,
Yeehaw.
yeah, yeehaw. Okay, I might try to adopt that next time. People will be like, Amanda, are you okay?
It's
So
worth it.
welcome.
It's worth
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah,
It.
it's worth it.
Yeehaw. Will you just introduce yourself to us so that people
Yeah.
who aren't familiar with who you are and what you do just kind of get to know you a little bit?
Yeah, so my name is Meredyth Fletcher, and I am a nutritional therapy practitioner. I've been practicing one-on-one with clients as a functional nutritionist for nearly a decade at this point, over a decade. And we do clinical work, clinical lab work together, and all of that. I also am finishing my master's in clinical and mental health counseling, and just finished my master's in theological and biblical studies as well this year. So, using all of those areas of study to focus on healing, how God wired us for healing, full body focus, mind, body, soul, because um, you can't separate the mind from the body or the spirit from the body, because we are one. We are one being, and so that's kind of what I do. What I've given my life for and to, and yeah, we're in Houston, me and my husband, and we have 2 kids, and we're just out here loving life.
I love it. I love it. And wow, you are busy. It's so
Mhm.
cool. I love how God is like giving you the tools to like talk about this important like topic and area in
Mhm.
a well-rounded way. I think it's easy for us to just get like kind of pigeonholed into one vein. And so I just think it's beautiful that you are well-rounded in your education so that you can like best help God's people. So yay and yeehaw for that.
Mhm.
Let's talk about your book,
Yes, let's talk about it.
The Good Food Solution. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can see the video and just the book cover, how pretty she is. What is your hope for this book?
So I really have, so just through the years of working with people, um, seeing the needs of women in particular, but all people in all stages, women, in they're in ages of all the way from late teens all the way to 60 plus. Worked with so many different people over the years who usually end up coming to me, and they come and they're like, okay, I've tried everything, something's wrong, there's some disconnection somewhere along the path, can you help me investigate? um, and I'm like, yes, sure, God has wired our bodies for healing when we equip our bodies with the right knowledge and the right tools to do so. And I want people, when they read the book, and then and or when someone is working with me, I want people to know that where their story is their story, and it's special and unique. And that's where the shame-free approach comes for, okay, let's teach your body how God created it to work, from that physiological, the psychoeducation piece of how are we created, And also at the same time, what you brought to the table is nothing to be ashamed of, because
Mm.
you didn't get to where you are overnight. And healing takes time, and all healing, and all sickness really begins in the gut. And so I have studied the gut for years. That's a main piece of clinical lab work that I do with clients. And along with blood work and hormone, and we do the whole thing. But your gut, if you think about it, you consume food and then your stomach decides what to do with that. So we need to look at how is your body operating. And so we do that. We take the tools that we know, we look at the gut microbiome, and we see, are we doing what we need to be doing, rather than chasing different diets or protocols that are sort of just kind of, in some cases, can be arbitrary. Just
Mm.
sort of, oh, we're just going to throw this at it. And honestly, there's no shame in that. Even, it's like you're just trying to do what you can do to figure out what your body needs, right? But I want to really teach people that it all starts with the gut. And so wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, it could be hormones, skin, weight issues, preconception or postmenopause, like so many different things, so many different phases and areas of life. You got to look at, is your gut functioning? Are you absorbing nutrients and eliminating toxins? And so what I do with clients, and particularly in the book, is just kind of open that up, and we talk about, how did God create us, and then what's it like to invite him in this process of healing. Starts in the gut, and then we look at the theology behind food and creation, and how did we get here, and where are we headed, and what are the tools that we need to kind of rearrange our path towards healing in a way that is hopeful
Yes.
and practical. So,
Yes. Oh, my land. Okay. So you're going to do a case study on me.
all right,
Just kidding.
let's
I'm
go.
kidding and I'm not. No, like, okay. I feel like I've been through, I've gone to like all the things.
Yeah.
Oh, my land. Okay. So and I feel like I'm always learning something new about my body that I didn't know. And that's just fascinating, right? Because depending on who you talk to, like they probably have a different piece of it, information that you're like, what? But
Mhm.
I just like, for the help of all of us, what are some signs maybe, or
Sure.
some symptoms that our gut microbiome, or however you would word that, is
Mhm.
not healthy,
Functioning. Yeah, yeah,
or
great question.
whatever? Yeah, functioning well,
Yeah,
however
yeah,
you would
or
say
not
that,
healthy. Yeah, same,
or
same.
not.
I would
Yeah.
I would consider it the same thing. Not functioning well, not healthy, not optimal, not
Mhm.
being optimized. So I love this question, because I tell everyone our body talks to us in symptoms, and so our body says different things to different people. So it can be, it, whether or not this is good news or bad news, it can actually be a ton of things. So um, when I see clients who are dealing with any sort of digestive issue, obviously that would be like a main signal. So any kind of bloating or gas or nausea or inability to effectively go to the bathroom, or being backed up for days, or even quite the opposite, just something that just is not how it should be, or abdominal pain, abdominal cramping. Those are going to kind of be your immediate, okay, something in the gut. And I think it's tempting for a lot of people to um, look, they have a GI symptom, and then they're like, okay, what's the last thing I ate? I'm going to blame that. And I
Mm.
think what's important is, when we have those GI symptoms, it's often, at least I have seen time and time and time and time again, it's often not the food that's the problem, but the gut microbiome. And so what that means, we can talk about that here in just a second, but some other symptoms um, are any of those GI symptoms, and then the downstream effects of your GI tract and your gut not working optimally. So you consume food, you consume nutrients, let's say your body's absorbing or not, then your gut decides, okay, what other symptoms of the body are we going to send these nutrients to? So they're going to be your endocrine system. So like your hormones, it's going to be your skin, it's going to be your cellular makeup, to your blood and to your tissues. Everywhere in your body, these nutrients get to go somewhere because that's how our body lives and breathes and functions. So when those nutrients are being improperly sent out or maybe in a deficiency, then those other symptoms that I mentioned can also give us symptoms. So skin issues, so chronic psoriasis or red skin, rosacea, acne, anything related to the skin, dandruff, those can definitely point us towards a GI imbalance. And then you've got your hormones. So your GI system has to be working optimally in order for your hormones to balance and flush, because we're constantly, like, we're creating, we're exposed to, we're consuming, we're around real hormones and then exogenous exposures of hormones. And so your body is constantly filtering, like, okay, what do I need? What do I not? I have to have those pathways open to be able to eliminate. So hormone imbalance, which can come from just a number of life situations that you've experienced, or a lot of, you can have that as a result of chronic stress or even acute stresses here and there, postpartum, pregnancy, those life stages, or like approaching the perimenopause and all of that. So you've got the hormone imbalances. And so you've got your skin, you've got your hormone, you've got your GI upsets, and any really then outside beyond that, it's like, okay, what is going on that's like hurting? So joint pain, honestly, it could be like anything.
Yeah.
Where we always want to look back at, okay, what's going on with the gut? Because we got to see if your gut is distributing nutrients as it should.
Mm.
So that's why I'm so passionate about the gut, because you could be doing all the right things all day long, but if your gut is not optimized, if the microbiome isn't balanced, then your ability to see change kind of lessens. Where that's what I'm teaching in the book. It's like, okay, let's go to the root, let's go to that microbiome, let's learn how to recalibrate it, let's learn how to shift, correct the system there, so
Mm.
that system can then do its thing outward.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to for sure like round the bases and come back to that. Like, then how do we, obviously we need to get the book because the book is personalized to you.
Mhm.
It's helpful for what you are experiencing. And Meredyth talks way more about that for each of us in
Mhm.
the Good Food Solution, which is linked below. But I want to also like so I want to come back to that. What does it look like for us just today? What are a few things we need to consider, right? Obviously you go into way greater detail in the book, but,
Mhm.
um, also when I saw the title, I loved it, The Good
Mhm.
Food Solution. And then I also was like, wait a second, I'm curious. Tell us, for those maybe wondering the same thing, which I already know the answer to, but the good food solution is there. Ought we look at food as being like good food, bad food? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I have this conversation so frequently. Um, the answer is can be different for people. The answer is different. Well, it is, and it's not at the same time. And the reason is, one of the things that I talk about in the book is kind of where food came from, because I think the first question you have to ask before you can define good and bad food for yourself is, um, you like what are you considering? What are you considering to be good food, and what are you considering to be bad food, and why are you defining it that way? Because what we have been taught, or some different diets or whatever that we have seen, maybe tried our hand at here and there, um, we tend to adopt like these mindsets that, okay, this is going to work or this is not, based on a number of things, And so in the book, I talk about, okay, where did food come from and what does make food good and bad? Because at the end of the day, proper fuel in its most whole food form is going to be good and going to be nourishing. And so for people, that could look like the difference between a whole food cream based raw milk homemade ice cream versus like your store bought filled with added sugars that came from somewhere that's not ideal. We automatically look at ice cream and we label it bad. This is just an example.
Mm-hmm.
But when you break it down and you look at what actually is ice cream and where did it come from, does it have to be bad? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the answer is no, it doesn't. But it could also ebb and flow in different healing seasons for people. So in the book, we go in, okay, what are the exact tools that we need to kind of recalibrate the gut? And so some things I do, to honor your body, let's just remove some of the exposures of these particular food items. And here's the reason why. It doesn't make them bad. It just means that they're less optimal in that recalibrating and rebalancing. You do the work to rebalance the gut microbiome. You do the work to discover, like, where did food come from? What are we eating? Are we actually designed? How did God fuel us, and how did God create us to need fuel? Once you kind of look into that, you recalibrate, then you can say, okay, maybe we can redefine some food groups and what food is, because food should be good. It should be freedom. It should be nourishing. And so understanding the effects of healing the gut microbiome, which is where everything starts, can
Mm-hmm.
change how you define good and bad. So that's where it can be different, and it could be different for people in different seasons. And even for you and I, if you and I are both on a healing protocol, we're working on healing our gut, I might be able to tolerate that whole food cream based raw milk ice cream here and there, and you might have to choose like a full fat coconut milk because of what you're doing. But they're both good. They're both like
Mm. I love that answer. What I hear you saying is ice cream is good. I'm just kidding.
it
For
can
real
be. It
though.
can
Yeah,
be.
I know. For our community here to Wife Like Me, they know that I love ice cream.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
but also there are seasons where, like you say, I'm like, this is not a season where I'm able to enjoy it,
It's not nourishing.
because something's off. And I love
Mhm,
how you say the nourishment.
mhm.
I don't know if you know, I reference her frequently. Your Good Body, Jennifer Taylor Wagner.
Yes, yes.
Okay. She helped me a lot too, but then you're like adding a piece, because she helped me to reflect on and really like grow in my questioning around, like, what does it look like to honor my body?
Mhm,
And each day that might look different.
mhm.
And in different seasons, it looks different, right? But then also, like, is this nourishing to my body? I
Right,
love that. And even just, grabbing a snack or something, like, is
right,
this nourishing
right,
my
right.
body? Like, I mean, just such a simple question. I think even as parents, I think we can be coaching our kids better. I'm speaking to
Mhm,
myself, really, but
mhm.
maybe you're already doing this. Phenomenal for everybody listening and watching. But I think for me, I want to better coach my kids,
Yeah,
like, hey, mom, can I have a blah, blah, blah? I can just simply ask them to consider, well, what do you think? Like, is that a good option for what will
right,
nourish your body right now?
right, right.
I mean, just like, what a fascinating, duh question. Like, instead of mom saying yes or no, what if you think through that question?
Mm,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
love that. I love that. Here's a question for you. Okay. And again, I'm just like looking back at my notes. Okay. You mentioned our microbiome being balanced, and you
sure.
reference like recalibrating that. In your opinion, can we recalibrate our microbiome without getting like the testing done? that you
You
would,
can.
you know what I mean?
You definitely can. You absolutely can. And we kind of go in the book in that. It's a really gentle, this can benefit the everyone in the way that God physiologically created a human.
Mm,
Um, Based on just, what we're exposed to in modern day living, um, everything that we are used to consuming or not. So the book really lays out, all right, here here are the facts, and here are some signs and symptoms. If you need to focus on XYZ, then add this. If you don't, then add this. And it does kind of sidebar a few specifics for certain situations to further the optimization without testing.
mm,
However, if you were to test, that's how you could see, because there are signs and symptoms that, well, maybe you have a parasite, or maybe you have fungus, or maybe you just have like a lot of streptococcus, or not enough lactobacillus, or not enough Akkermansia. Like, um, to get that specific to see like what each bacteria is responsible for, you would have to test, but you don't
mm,
have to start there. And I don't always start there with clients, because there is so much that you can do to even see. And I think going back to your body talks back in symptoms,
yeah.
um, and using the tools that I kind of just very specifically lay out in the book on what does it mean to rebalance the gut? What does it mean to have a gut that's not balanced? We go into all of that, in very, very good detail. And then like what it means to rebalance it, why we want to do that. And so, yes, you can absolutely work to optimize. And as you're doing things, and as you're working through, there's a protocol in there, for this very thing. And as you're working your way through, um, it's imperative to listen to what your body is telling you along the way. And I think that
Mm,
we don't really give ourselves enough credit for how our body talks to us in symptoms. And it's hard to believe ourselves sometimes, because especially like if you are someone who has, visited the doctor time and time again, and kind of, well, your labs look great, you're fine, but you're like, no, I still feel this way. I'm always in the camp of lean into that feeling, because your body is trustworthy. And
yeah.
so, when you're going through the protocol, looking through, um, or paying attention to your symptoms and seeing, okay, at the end of it, how do I feel? Like,
Yeah.
am I on the path to feeling better? And then at that point, it's like, okay, I kind of do want to get tested and just kind of see, or I feel good. I don't know. I'm seeing results or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's the path. The path looks differently for everyone in that regards too. But there's so much to be done before you even get to testing.
I love that. It's like start here. Start with
Mhm.
this. Start with the things that
That you
it's like
have.
yeah, it's like I don't know. I'm just like I have all these funny thoughts in my brain, but it's like if I'm, which I have been in seasons where I'm like super just eating whatever, surviving, not I'm essentially everything I put in my body is crap and not nutritional for me, or what nutritious.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the word you used?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Um, at all. And then I have all these symptoms. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go get tested right now because I bet something's wrong with my gut, when it's actually like in reality, Amanda, you just need to eat an apple instead of
Yeah.
the, box of whatever. Or you know what I mean? Like you just actually need
Yeah,
to eat real
yeah,
food. Like there
yeah.
might not it might be that you do need further testing, but I
Mhm.
don't know. Why don't you just start out with like actually
Well,
eating
yeah.
real food?
Right.
Why don't we start
Right, and
there?
we talk about that, and then we talk about why this is beneficial too, and then also taking it a step further, the protocol includes food, but it also includes lifestyle shifts, and I go
Yeah,
into the science
yeah.
behind
Yeah, tell
that.
us a little bit about that. Like, so give us an
Yeah.
example of a lifestyle shift for those who are
So
like, should I get this book?
yeah. So for women who are kind of on the move in various seasons of life, single, married, young kids, nesters, I feel there is a lot of movement in the lives of women. As far as responsibility, it can increase stress levels. The book talks directly to the effects of stress and cortisol management and mismanagement. So cortisol is our stress hormone. Every time that we are kind of pegged or triggered or experience some sort of stressful moment, our body releases cortisol. Our body then tries to have to figure out what to do with it, and that directly impacts the gut microbiome. And so I stress the importance of food and the right types of foods and the reasons why and all of that, but then also taking it a step further that you can't get away from. And the reason that I became a counselor, along with being a nutritionist, a mental health counselor, is that stress management piece of it and how crucial it is to seeing healing. And so you don't have to get tested to know whether or not you're really stressed. Look at your life and look at what are you doing? Where's the peace or the lack thereof? And the book really talks about the effects of, like, the downstream effects of that. So absolutely get the book for that, because it's like something that you don't want to miss at all, because it's just like, I think one of the biggest, if not the missing link for everyone, really, because of the way that it impacts the gut microbiome. So the lifestyle shift then would be, what does stress management look like, and how do we decrease the stress on our bodies? And stress looks like a lot of ways. It looks like slamming on your car to not break into the person in front of you when they were, hit their brakes and there's a red light. Or stress looks like relational unrest. Stress looks like food intolerances. Stress looks like environmental exposures or chemicals in your environment or your products. Like, whatever it is that we were created to not optimally process or digest is a version of stress. But, like, here's the thing: we can't get away from stress. We're going to be exposed in different ways. So when you talk about recalibrating the microbiome and learning what to do with that cortisol and how it exits the body, you got to look at, okay, what are the different areas that I do feel stressed out, and let's address that. So whether it's like going to the sauna or going on a walk or grounding, mindfulness, talk therapy, there's so many different things to kind of nourish the nervous system. And that's the main thing that we actually talk about in this regards, and how the nervous system and the gut and the brain are all connected, and how stress impacts the nervous system, and what the nervous system tells the gut as far as, like, okay, I'm safe enough to digest, or okay, I'm not safe, so I'm gonna, like, hold on, I'm gonna grip. You're gonna have gas, you're gonna have bloating until you calm down, and that's when you get really nervous before a meeting, or you're just like running around eating with your kids, or something is happening in your relationship with your spouse, and you're about to have a hard conversation and you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom, and I have to go to the bathroom right now. It's because your physiological response and that nervous system response is actually doing that and impairing your body's ability to digest. So having the tools in the toolbox to address the stress in those areas of unrest dramatically improve how your body is able to process nutrients in the gut microbiome, and how the body can recalibrate. So when you talk about even like, ice cream as good food, it's like, okay, well, because then a question could be, well, how do I know if it's a season where I can eat it or a season that I can't? Like, what, we're navigating, we're ebbing and flowing. I say, and I share this in the book, so high level, like, you look at everything like as a whole. What are the areas of stress? Are you really stressed out? Then let's dial it in on the food, and let's do it with purpose, not because we're restricting and not because we're punishing, but because our body can't handle all of it at once. So then you leap over into okay, I feel like I've been nourished. I'm in a season where my stress is optimized. I'm managing that. It's like, okay, if I want to indulge at a party, it's not going to have the same offensive effects as if it was like just like a ton of stress all at the same time. Because your body, even though stress is different, your gut still has to process all of it.
That's so fascinating.
It really is.
That it really makes sense. So, like, in one season where I can have ice cream and my body doesn't respond negatively to it. In a different season, when there are many, let's say, outside stressors, like my dad's health is not well, maybe my kid's health is not well, maybe, we have a transitional circumstance that is like spending more mental energy than typically does, or whatever. There's like these outside stressors going on. Then it's fascinating to think about then, maybe in this season with my emotional stress at the level it is, it might not be ideal for me and my gut to then add in something that I know is not going to nourish my body anyway. That's just really fascinating.
Yeah,
Because
and could
nobody talks
potentially,
about that.
they really don't. And I think too that not that like ice cream like really stresses out the body, but it can just kind of add to that bucket.
Yeah.
In that moment of my whole motto in life is go where the peace is. So look at everything in your life as at a whole, and even ask yourself, like, is ice cream the move for the most peace? And it
And
seems kind
many
of silly and
times,
counterintuitive. It's like, sometimes it is, In what setting are we having it? Are we consuming it with those we love? Are we calm? Are we stressed? Why are we reaching for it? Are we healed? Are we not? Or not that you have to be like perfectly healed before you can have ice cream. That's not what we're talking about. But looking at everything and like, where is the peace? And that's the invitation to wholeness and to healing because of how God created us and our nervous system and our gut and how it all works together. And we talk about all of it in the book.
Yeah. And I seriously, if you're just joining us, you're like, what are you talking about? We're talking about Meredyth's new book, The Good Food Solution, and it matches my sweater. She's pretty. Again, that's subtitle, A Shame-Free Nutritional Journey to Food Freedom, Spiritual Nourishment, and Whole Body Health. So good. There's so much in it. And actually, there's so much in it that I'm going to reread it because like slowly. Because there's that much in it. So, and I, again, just have been on a journey with all the things my entire life. So good. I have to say, totally not really off topic, but speaking of peace, you are very, you have a peaceful presence. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, I encourage you to go over to, if you're just listening on the podcast, go over to YouTube, our YouTube channel, A Wife Like Me, or on our Facebook page, and you can see, you'll know what I'm talking about. You invite, like, you just have an aura of peace.
I thank
and like,
you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So why don't you share with everybody? That's not how it's always been for you, right?
No.
Can you just talk about that?
Absolutely not. No. And part of my journey and part of the reason why I'm in the work that I'm in is because of everything that I've endured and, my own experience in counseling. So many years ago, 15 plus years ago is when I started myself working through stuff. And working through my own stress and even so in the book we talk about present stress, but we also talk about how stress, the body holds on to it over time. And so I kind of started learning this, and I was learning about the importance of nutrients in all of it because during my time in counseling, I was talking to my counselor and we would talk about very stressful things, and I had zero skills on emotionally regulating, stress management, because that was so foreign to me. And it just was. And we learned about different modes of therapy and healing. And one of those for me outside of therapy was food. I also at the same time went to a nutritionist. and just kind of I noticed some kind of patterns in myself with food where they weren't the healthiest, not an eating disorder, but just some patterns that I was like, okay, I'm not functioning well. So at the time I was like, I'm just gonna go see a nutritionist and do whatever he tells me to do. And so what I noticed through that work was that everything in therapy was like way enhanced. Not only was I given the skills through counseling to learn how to emotionally regulate and create that stability within myself and within my relationship with the Lord, um, through that, but outside of that, the nutrients that I was providing myself, I was sleeping through the night. Novel concept. Therefore, I was waking up and having my quiet time. Novel concept. Because before I was like, I can't wake up. I'm so tired. I'm so sad. And I was. None of that changed. I was still tired. I was still sad. But the nutrients that I provided myself allowed me the grace and the space and the bandwidth to show up for myself. And that's to say, like, some days I would show up and I would sit over my Bible and sit over all of my therapy homework and just be like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here, which was a big deal. And so I think through that and just putting one foot in front of the other, it all sort of just started merging in a way that was just extremely healing to me. So I started my journey professionally as a nutritionist, and then, now as a counselor as well, because of the impacts that I saw. And I think just I've spent years and years and years and years learning about for myself and then teaching others about, okay, what does it look like to healthfully attach to people? What do healthy boundaries look like? What does it look like to have healthy relationships? What does it look like to go where the peace is? What does that look like? Even if your circumstances don't change, you can still have peace and you can still have the ability to regulate. And a lot of that comes from processing your life and kind of what's present, what's past, and then fueling your body. You just cannot get outside of that. And so that's kind of where it comes from, I guess, for me, is just the personal impacts. And
yes,
I'm just so passionate about it.
You're speaking from experience. It's not like, oh, I've always been stress-free and my body is amazing or whatever. Like, I love that that's why you're here, right? That's why you're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I'm reminded as you are sharing the concept of, which we talk about all the time here, but it's so much easier to ignore what's hard and the pain and the dysfunction. It is way easier to fill ourselves, our schedule, our minds with our scrolling, a Netflix show, just busyness. It's so much easier to ignore the hard marriage, the dysfunctional marriage, the kids that are struggling, you fill in the blank, our symptoms. It's so much easier to just keep doing what you're doing, even if it isn't working.
Right.
It's a lot easier just to do that, actually. What is hard, really hard, is to do the work necessary to heal. And I think that for so many of us, I've been there a million times. We just want to jump to the peace without having to walk through the hard.
Yeah.
And we just want the peace. Like we just want to be on the other side.
Desperately.
We want to be healthy. We want our marriages to be better. We want our kids to be happy. We want blah, 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 blah. But we actually have to enter into a season and like commit to doing work and to heal, to process, to actually recognize and identify and do, engage in, discipline and self-control.
Absolutely.
And that's not easy. And it requires a different, I don't know what the word is. It just requires like a different path of like ourselves and like it's like a different speed, and we have to be willing to go there. And I think for some of us, if you're honest, you're like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm not ready. And like, I get that. But our prayer would be that you would want that bad enough at some point to be like, you know what, it's time. It's time. And I'm just grateful that you have this book for those that are ready to like, and you know what, also I want to say, if you go get the Good Food Solution, it's very encouraging to get you to that place. So if you're like, you know, I don't know that I'm there yet, well, get the book and just start reading it, and you might be inspired to just start that process, or just take a step toward health. What is there anything you want to say to that woman who's like, I want what you're talking about, but I don't know that I have that like capacity, margin, energy to even think about getting myself to a place that's like nourished?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. First of all, relatable, because I did personally went through that season, and then also had a baby, and then had another baby, and went through a season where my body underwent an insurmountable amount of stress, and I kind of did experience that. So not to transfer my experience onto everyone, but generally speaking, the first thing that could be unique to here is that sometimes physiologically we are so wound up as a result from the stress that we've experienced, or chronic sickness of a loved one, or something that we have endured. We can be so wound up that it can feel impossible, and sometimes can almost be, to calm and to get to a place where we can even be ready physiologically. So emotionally, you have the thought, okay, I want to be there, or maybe I don't, or I'm just not, or I just don't even have the bandwidth. What is a very realistic, could be happening most of the time, is a physiological as well. Like, so what you do is you pull in that nourishment, you calm your nervous system, you do things that are seemingly unrelated to gut health, or your nutritional journey, or your journey, period, and do what you can to support your body, like, through that physiological, just kind of that deflate feeling of, I'm exhausted, I'm run down. It's like, okay, let's move, because your nervous system is responsible for all of that. Like your, and then your endocannabinoids, just all of that. Like, it's all like around your body and in your body, and governing your ability to shift into that place of, okay, I can do this. So starting there, breathing, stress management, which is gonna be so overwhelming too. It's like, I don't have time to breathe. But I think, like, rather than having to just jump into a list of rules and guidelines and follow and do all the perfect things and do this right to heal, it's just like, okay, no, wait, pause, scan the world around you, take some breaths, talk to people if you need to talk to people, calm your nervous system, like, get into that place of that parasympathetic, okay, let's go for a walk, and then ask yourself, okay, could I be ready once you've kind of entered into that space? And then at that point, it's the whole, like, where are you with the Lord? Have you asked him to join you? Are you experiencing shame on your health journey? Do you have shame for your desires? What does that look like? Is there unrest between you and God? Because that's where the ultimate healing will happen. So looking at, are you even willing to look at that, willing to invite him in, and then looking at your life, and then and then you go into, okay, now what do I have the capacity to do? Once I've scanned for safety, I've asked the Lord to be a part of it, people are with me in it, I've got the support system, do I feel ready at that point? And then the question could look completely different. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really good, because I think what you're saying is, like, there's grace for you wherever you're at.
Absolutely.
And there's also help for you wherever you're at. So, like, I love that what you're saying for all of us is that no matter where you are, there's always something you can be experiencing that will help bring you to maybe a step further to that peace that you want.
Yes.
So that like where you are right now is where you are, and there is always a little something that can help bring you a little further out of that place, closer toward peace.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be this huge overhaul, because I think too, one of the things that we can hear, especially for personalities like mine, is like, okay, so I need to cut out everything, and I need to get this testing, and I need to and I need to never touch that, and then I need to like be taking all of that forever, and like all these like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm all in, right? And like
Sure.
in one way, maybe that's what the Lord is saying. I don't know, but also maybe it looks like something that is maintainable and sustainable, and maybe it's a baby step for today. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, but there's something that maybe the Lord is bringing us into that doesn't have to be so big, and yet it's going to be something that's going to like take you a step closer to peace. So I love that response.
Yeah.
What is like, give me your hope. Give me like your ideal, okay, like story. So there's a woman who's listening to us talk right now, and she's like, yeah, maybe I should get the Good Food Solution. Like maybe this is something that would be helpful to me. She gets the book, she reads it front to back. What is your hope for her after she puts the book down? Like how is her life different?
Yeah. The hope and the dream is freedom in her body, even if she hasn't yet reached the perfect other side. Even if that looks like the shift has happened during the reading of the book, of what the thought on the other side was of perfection, or whatever that looks like. The hope that there would be tools in the toolbox to unlock wherever she is, to unlock her freedom on her path towards healing. She's seen a little bit of results. She wants more. Maybe she's seen all of her results. And really just at this place of, wow, now I know what food is. I know the conflict that has arisen in my heart. I know what to do with it. And my life will never be the same in how I view food and the way that I talk to myself, because I know how to nourish my body. I know that that's how God designed me, and he's not ashamed of me, and he's not ashamed of my desires, and he's not ashamed of the healing that happens and the alignment and the results. Because ultimately he's the one that says, I've given you abundant life. Do you want it? And then the girl says, I do. And I'm going to do it because I'm now going to nourish my body effectively. And as a byproduct, starting with the gut, results just kind of happen. And so ultimately her life would never be the same. Because you can't go back. You can't unknow what you know from reading this book. And it is life-changing, and it's impactful. It changed my life. It changed the lives of my clients. And it just puts people on a different path of like, not only are they seeing results, but it's like, okay, I don't ever want to do another fad diet ever.
Yep.
Never. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm also now just on a different path and seeing results. And so that would be
beautiful. Beautiful. It gets me like so excited because there's just so much.
Yay!
There's just like, I'm thinking of junk food, and there's just like so many different, if you just know this, if you just know that, if you just count the macros and micros and and on and on and on and on. And not that that is bad, but it does mess with our minds when it comes to our bodies. And this is just a simplistic, beautiful, like, like that. That's it.
I get on board with that.
Yes. So just thank you again. And Meredyth and the Good Food Solution is linked below. And Meredyth, I always ask our guests to pray over the wives. Would you mind doing that to close
Yeah,
us out?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Lord, thank you for today. And for everyone listening, I ask that you would, wherever people are, that you would bring full body nourishment over their lives, and that you would give them peace to be wherever they are in the wrestle, in the success, in the longing, and the waiting, and the desires, in the stress, in the hustle, whatever that looks like, um, that you would be there, and that you would be the guide, and that the people that are able to read the book and to kind of flip through the pages, I ask that you would be near, and that you would bring insight in a way that only you can, through your Holy Spirit, in their heart, in their lives, that you would give the ultimate dose of hope, and that you would be the place of healing, the place where people want to be, and the place where people can't turn away from, because they've seen you and they've seen your face. God, we trust you, and we trust your desire for our healing, and we trust that you care about that. And for the women listening, we just pray that you would have it be what it would in their lives. We love you, and it's your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Meredyth. What a
You're
joy.
welcome.
I think we'll have you back. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Come on.
we could chat a lot more.
Yeah.
So
I would love
you
it.
so much. Yeah. Thanks for being with us and for your obedience in writing. And ladies, thank you for being with us. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend, because we know that this could just help so many other people. So thank you for doing that. And we will be back next week for an all new episode. Thanks again, everyone.